Hey everyone, me again. Don't know if you watched my last video about the wildfire situation, but that's still going on. It's not really any better today. Actually, I think it's a little worse. They're reporting that the visibility outside because of the smoke is down to around 100 yards. Actually, it looks like to me that it's even less than that because I can't even see my neighbor's house looking out the window. So, fires are still 0% contained. So, yeah, pretty much status quo. Not too much is different, unfortunately. And so hopefully things turn around soon, but that's not really what this video is about. Just partly to alleviate boredom and partly just because, inspired, I guess you could say, by a video by the Koba 49 about his Berdan 2, which, by the way, cites my video a few times. So it's always kind of nice that bigger and better channels are recognizing my work, so thank you for that. But one of the valid things that he raises in his video is that these are not really that well understood of rifles. They're not that well documented, at least not here. I don't know if in some foreign archives there's better data out there, but compared to, say, like a Mauser 98, these aren't that understood. Although I guess there are mystery Mausers too, so that's beside the point, I suppose. But anyways, I thought that it would be a useful thing for any would-be collectors that, end up in the possession of these things, either from other sources or if, more become available from Royal Tiger or whatever else, just to kind of know what they're looking at and what to look for. This one is, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, is really quite original. There's not that much indication of a stint in Ethiopia. Really, about the only evidence there is are these like makeshift sling things that they did here with the leather and the drilled stock. Before I forget, I did clean out the bore, at least marginally, so I'll insert a photo of that. As you can see, it looks pretty okay. I'm not the best bore photographer. It was a little easier for this just because it's a fairly large bore, but anyways, that's what it looks like. I'm pretty happy with that. So anyways, there's that. But in regards to collecting stuff, I think one of the first kind of classic things people look for is does it all match? And as far as I could find, these are not really the most heavily serialized numbers as far as how many parts are actually marked. So one of the parts that is serialized is the butt plate, which is an odd choice, but it is. I'll insert a photo. And then, of course, the cocking piece and the bolt body itself are serialized. And then the barrel and or receiver seem to be serialized. In this case, it's just the barrel. As you can see, the receiver flats on here do not have a serial number. It is just the barrel here that is. In the case of this particular rifle, the butt plate matches the barrel. It does not match the bolt, although the bolt pieces match each other. So this was one complete bolt, I suppose, and to a non-matching rifle. The rest of the parts are not serialized as such, but they do have arsenal marks. So that would these were manufactured in 3 different arsenals in Russia, and so what ends up happening is, of course, a lot of the parts are marked with the arsenal mark. So at least you can't really guarantee for sure that things match, but there's certainly good indicators, or at least you can kind of speculate. And so in the case of this particular rifle, this, as I had mentioned in the original video, was made at the Sestroretsk arsenal. The arsenal mark for that is just an arrow by itself. And so, for example, on the butt plate, we see that here. Of course, the butt plate is serialized, so we know it matches anyways, but there's kind of a double check as well. And then, of course, if we look at the trigger guard here, we'll see that same arrow marking as well. So again, at the very least, this trigger guard would have been made at the same arsenal. Can't say for 100% certain that this is necessarily the original one it was made with, but it certainly doesn't disprove that it was. Another example here, we see this barrel band also has, let me see if I can get to focus. There it is, the same arrow by itself. So again, same thing. And so if you start taking these things apart, you'll start seeing those markings or similar ones. And that would be at least an indicator that they had come from the same factory. And if they don't, be aware that then it obviously doesn't match. So those that, kind of have a lot of Russian guns in their collection, or Soviet as well, are kind of used to seeing some of the other arsenal marks, like the arrow in a triangle for the Izhevsk arsenal, the arrow in the star for Tula. bear in mind that these markings were actually different in the Imperial era as well. So, for example, the triangle one for Izhevsk, I think that only got adopted in the late 20s already in the Soviet era, and so prior to that, it was actually a bow and arrow, and so that's something to look for there, is to be aware that it's not necessarily what you think of now. And so, for example, it's not going to show up, of course, but on the front barrel band on the front, I actually see if there's a faint bow and arrow, so I think this barrel band at some point must have been replaced. And then there's actually, if you look at the bolt in detail, I don't think that's going to show up either. It's really, really small and faint, but there's also a bow and arrow there. So, and I know this from the serial number that this bolt doesn't match, but that's also borne out by the fact that it has different arsenal marks. Now, I did mention that sometimes it's, I guess I alluded to the fact that the markings seem to vary on the receiver flats. So sometimes you'll actually see a year on this side. You'll generally always see the Imperial Eagle with the Proof Commission initials underneath it on the top. And then on the bottom here, we just have some kind of initial or maybe some kind of inspector's mark, but sometimes you'll see a serial number there or something like that. I suspect that this is depends on which arsenal these come from. So that would, of course, be indicated by the variety of little markings, and of course it's flat out spelled out here along with the year of manufacture. In this case, the year of manufacture is only spelled out here, not on the receiver flat, but that's going to be something that varies, it seems like, perhaps depending on manufacturer or perhaps depending on year. So that's something to look for. In case these rifles, by the way, are just utterly covered in various little initials and proof marks and inspector's marks. Hopefully some of these are showing up. So here's another one, for example, on the front of the trigger guard. There's some, pretty much everywhere you look, if you look closely enough, there's going to be something there, like either on the front of the barrel band. There's some that's like really dark on the nose cap. So that's just something else that you'll see on these. So there's that. And then looking at the rear sight, this is kind of interesting because this is clearly a rifle. It has like a 32-inch barrel. So, because there was also like a carbine version, a Dragoon version, and one more that eludes me at the moment. But in any case, this is the infantry rifle version, I would think, just based on that length. And so some of these came equipped with volley sights. This one does not look like it ever had them because the rear sight leaf is present. And so what it would look like is that there would be a little protrusion off this side with a notch in it that would line up with the front volley sight. And it doesn't look like it was ever there, and unless they cut it off. But I don't think if that was done in Ethiopia that they would have taken the care to like knurl it and make it symmetrical. So my guess is that they were just never there to begin with. And then if we look at the front barrel band here, there would be a little spike that comes off to the side that'll be the front side of the volley sight. And although this is fairly pitted, it certainly doesn't look to me like something was ever there that they filed off and made it smooth. And so, again, if that was done in Ethiopia, I really doubt they would have taken the care to make it look seamless. So they just didn't universally seem to come with those. And I don't know if that was a question of year or what it is, but I would have thought that the infantry rifles would have had it, and this one doesn't appear that it ever did. Don't know what to make of the fact that this barrel band might not be original, but there you go. That's just what it is. By the way, this one does have the bayonet lug off to the side here. So that's some of the, kind of more detailed look at what you can kind of see as far as when you're examining one of these, if you're a collector, what markings to look for. How can you confirm whether or not they match? Well, and again, largely you can't. By the way, I don't know what the distribution is between how many were made at which arsenal. So, for example, I'd mentioned in the previous video that around 3 million of these were made. I don't think it was, 1 million here, then another million at Tula, and another million at Izhevsk. I doubt that it's really that evenly distributed. So, not sure on that one. If somebody has that information, that would be certainly very helpful. By the way, no, I still haven't repaired the stock on this guy yet. I don't know if that shows up. Clearly it does right there. Okay. Anyways, that's about all I had on this. Just a little more kind of a thorough treatment as to what to expect when you find one of these and where to look at. Thank you for watching.